Right, so before the video starts, here's proof that we're legit.
Disclaimer, you really don't need to be getting all 9s at GCSE. In fact, it's probably an unrealistic target.
Now onto the actual video.
Hello guys, and welcome to our channel again. This video is going to be the first of a series documenting how we got all 9s at GCSE. We'll be starting off with the sciences. For your information, we did Excel sciences, we did triple science.
Yeah, we're not part of that combined science. Okay, I think that was too much. Okay.
And we'll be giving you some of our revision tips and also actual exam tips when it comes to the actual day. So, because you can start with some revision tips.
Let's talk about revision for the sciences. So we all know that in GCSE Science, the CGP Guides are very, very, very useful. So at our school, we got these for a discounted price.
Definitely get them if you're able to. They're really useful resources at summarising everything. But obviously don't dedicate your whole revision to it because you need to do some other things as well. So I'll talk about now using your lesson resources, so your notes. In your general GCSE lessons, you will just be going through lessons consequentially, but when you come to revising, you might find that you don't know something, or maybe your notes aren't so clear. So I'd recommend actually, taking your GCSE lessons seriously, and that you need to clarify anything that you don't understand in the lesson, so it's clear in your notes when you come to revise.
So that'll be really important because it can help reduce how long you're revising for, which is always a good thing. And yeah, a bit more on CGP Guides. So these are most good at covering the content very briefly. And you can probably get through in like what, an hour?
Yeah, now and you don't like some topics you'll be really confident with. Like I'm pretty sure diffusion, active transform, osmosis, everyone can kind of roll it off the tip of their tongue, but you can use it specifically for some other topics if you want.
Yeah, and maybe for like 6 markers, they might not help as much, but they're definitely a very good resource.
Yeah. So the second revision, So the next revision tip will be using past papers, and I think this is a very good resource in general for science because if you say use the Excel International GCSE or old GCSE science past papers, you can have a look at the mark schemes and the points that are given. And some of the questions are always used every single year. Like in chemistry, for example, they always ask you in some form or another why gases have a low boiling point. And the points are always literally like weak intermolecular forces which require little energy to break. So just
Too much.
Learning that. And also things like hydrocarbon definitions, like you have to say something consisting of carbon and hydrogen only. And you can only get those points by doing lots of past papers. So hand over to Kusha for the next tip.
So the last revision tip is to print off your specification, or at least get it in front of you. So what you should do is you should go through the entire specification, because this is basically a list of all the content that can potentially be asked, and just go through it. Ignore the things that you already know very well. Highlight the things that you pretty much completely forgot or just have no idea what they're talking about, and that's really a very good way to focus your revision and narrow down the things you have to revise.
And also allows you to cover the really obscure points, so you might miss things like phytomining or whatever it's called, the methods of copper extraction, if you don't read the specification very carefully.
Now we come to our tips that we do in the actual exam. So tip number 1 is to go through the paper, and what I mean by that is as soon as the examiner says, stops their stopwatch, you may begin.
Yeah.
Just like flick through and have a look at all the questions, and like subconsciously, you kind of see things that you kind of see the answer to questions that you already know in your head.
Yeah, mentally prepare for all the questions that are going to come up.
And also gives you a good idea to look at the 6 markers beforehand, because those are where the main marks are in the exam. So
the next tip is to not fill a space. This was a mistake I actually made in my first biology exam or first few science exams. You can see the example below. it wastes your time, and often you can get marks very quickly in biology. Like the marking points are very short, and so you want to avoid doing that, because especially for the 6 markers that give you so much space, you don't even need to fill up 1.5 pages of it. You can just fill in the first sort of page and a bit, and that'll give you 6 marks easily.
The next tip is to use keywords. So generally in any sort of biology topic, whatever the question is asking you about, so let's say it was asking about immunology, and the question's about why children don't experience an infection by catalyst in this case. So things that are already going in my head are, antibodies, immune response, and other sorts of immunology terms, and those are very important, especially when it comes to the GCSE marking points, because often those key terms are incorporated into those marking points. So even using those key terms allows you to get a few marks.
Yeah, so that question, even using the word, the phrase memory lymphocyte, will get you a mark.
And if you do that for all your questions,
you get lots of marks.
Yeah, you have a good exam.
Yeah. So the last tip I'll give you is to prevent listing. So things like questions in physics, for example, where they say list some sources of background radiation. You're just tempted to list like buildings, foods, and all that, but
Bananas.
Yeah, bananas. But if it says like give 2 points or just give 1 point, then don't list, because like say you give something that's not actually right, you contradict the mark. So it just helps you get that few more marks.
I'm back, and I'm here to tell you to stop procrastinating. Go revise. You're gonna have to put in effort. If you haven't put in effort throughout year 11, clarifying things with teachers, going home and seeing the things that you haven't fully understood, you have to put in work now. You have to spend hours cramming this the day before your exam or weeks before your exam. Spaced repetition is important, and it will probably help you remember a lot more things in the exam rather than cramming everything. So yeah, and now on to the conclusion.
That pretty much concludes our tips for the GCSE Sciences. Hopefully you found that useful, and hopefully this helps you get a 9 in the actual exam.
Comment down below what you got.
Yeah, we want to know if it actually helped you get a 9.
Cool, thank you.